Hello everyone, and welcome to my AtoZ Readathon wrap-up. If you remember from my TBR video, I had planned a very ambitious TBR to read 26 books for hard mode. That did not work out. I think I got carried away with my success from reading so many books in September, but that is not something that I can realistically do every month. For the AtoZ Readathon, I ended up reading 5 of the 26 books on my TBR, and I enjoyed most of them. The one I didn't enjoy so much was Dawn, Volume 1 by Joseph Michael Linsner. I had been recommended this book years ago as an example of pinup art that still has decent writing, and while I can say that the writing was better than other female representation I've seen, it still wasn't great. The characters do seem to exist primarily to be sexy and mysterious. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic New York City. It is very heavily influenced by Christian mythology, to the point that God and Lucifer are actual characters. It was an interesting world, and there were some good moments of humor or some social criticism, but the flow was off. The characters were often enraged in no time flat. It didn't make sense. And the 2 female characters who existed were just flat caricatures. I gave this 2 stars. Oh, and that book filled letter D for the AtoZ Readathon. Moving on to the books I did enjoy. For J, I read Jacob Have I Loved by Katherine Paterson. This is a children's/young adult novel written in 1980 that takes place on an island and focuses on the main character, Louise, growing up and figuring out who she is. I can't say that the main characters or the plot or something that I was particularly interested in, but they were presented so well, and the setting especially was written so invitingly that I found myself wanting to continue coming back to this book as I read it. I gave it 4 stars. For the letter O, I read Olivia by Olivia, which is a pseudonym for Dorothy Bussy. This book was written in 1949 and follows a teenage girl who goes to finishing school in France and ends up developing a crush on one of her female teachers. Some of the characters and their motivations and actions didn't make as much sense to me as I would have liked, but the main character's reflections on the new emotions she was experiencing, her coming-of-age story, were presented very well and felt very genuine. Some of the book was based on the author's own time in finishing school when she was a teenager, although I don't believe that she experienced attraction toward a female teacher. As I was reading, I was reminded of a German movie I had seen, Mädchen in Uniform, which is also about a girl who goes to a boarding school and ends up falling in love with a teacher. Funnily enough, as I was reading more about this book, that movie, or at least the 1930s version of it, I had seen the 1950s remake, was mentioned as a possible influence for this book. I will link more information about that movie in the description below. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. It's a short, quick read, and I will probably want to fall back into Olivia's journey again. I gave it 4 stars. Lastly, I read the first 2 volumes of Monstress. This filled letters A and B. Monstress Volume 1 was subtitled The Awakening, and Volume 2 was subtitled The Blood. I loved these graphic novels. The artwork alone is worth going through these books. They are so detailed, utterly stunning. I wanted to fall into every page and just not come out. The story itself is set in an Asian-inspired, alternate 1900s magical world. The main character finds herself possessed by an old god, and these 2 volumes follow her journey through figuring out why this possession is happening and how it works. There's a lot of world building. It's done fantastically. A lot of showing instead of telling, but I still felt like I was understanding everything new that was presented. It's very dark and done in a way that I really enjoy. There are also lighter, more humorous moments, especially with the characters of Kippa and Ren, who I adore, but those lighter elements don't cheapen the dark parts. Everything is balanced, I'm invested, and I absolutely adore how many female characters there are. They take on every role you can imagine, from leadership to villain to random person met on the road. At one point I thought a new character that was being introduced was, of course, going to be a man, but no, it was a woman. This book challenges those assumptions. I can't wait to pick up volume 3. I gave both of these volumes 4.5 stars. And that's everything I read for the AtoZ Readathon. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books and how you did if you were participating in this readathon. Thanks for joining me.